I found my way home across the Grand Mirage. Ever since that
Hi, I'm Alison Arngrim. This is the Alison Arngrim Show. And, you know, some of you may recognize me as evil Nellie Olson from Little House on the Prairie. But tonight, I'm Alison Arngrim, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The TV shows, the movies that made us feel good, and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. Oh, and yes, do I have someone who is like that now? Yes, I do. She is new. I have not met her yet. Well, I mean, I just met her, but I think meeting her. And I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. She is a singer, although she's also an actress. We'll be talking about her acting as well. And it's interesting because when you go to her YouTube channel, it says, HAYLEY SALES, the next 1940s pop star. And she clearly was not in the 1940s. And you're like, wait, what? Really? And then you start listening to her music and watching the videos, and you go, she is the next 1940s pop star. She's really amazing. I was sent a whole press release on her, and then I actually listened to the music and went, yes, we're having her on. Also, very proud fellow Canado-American. We always like that. So marvelous singer, songwriter, actress, everything, HAYLEY SALES.
Hey, well, it's lovely to be here with you, fellow Canadian American.
So you're like in Victoria right now, aren't you?
I am. I'm looking at seagulls darting crazy. They're all over the place.
Are you near the Empress? I think, are you near the Empress?
I am near the Empress. I'm about a 5-minute walk, but I'm on the water right there. It's so beautiful. I love it here. It's amazing.
Get tea, really good tea.
I should go get afternoon tea. I have never done that.
The Empress. Oh, it's so now. I mean, you need to like not eat anything for 3 days, run around the block. It's like they just bring you all these things with the sandwiches and the things and the crumpet.
Wow.
With all these cakes and cakes. It's
Decadent.
a lot. It's a lot, but it's delicious. And
so don't eat for a while and then go.
Yeah, it's very healthy. It's just a lot of it.
It's a lot of healthy. Okay.
They give you a lot of food there. This is also, you have a fascinating story because you grew up in a musical family. Your dad was Richard Sales, who worked with the Ramones. He produced people like the Ramones, worked with all these. So I was like, oh, wow, well, okay. So we see how this all started, and there was already the recording studios and things in your house, and you were already doing this as a very young child. You were being exposed to music and starting to sing.
Yeah. We had the studio was in the old Victorian house in Washington, D.C. And my mom actually, her mother had a stroke right before I was born. So she was very busy with, taking care of her mother. And so my dad would plop me in my diapers on the mixing board. And I was never unhappy as long as I was listening to music. And so I'm sure I soaked it up because you're such a sponge when you're a little kid. And both my parents are these incredible, wild artist hippies from, the 60s. And my dad back in the 60s was on the up. He was playing music with all those incredible artists. And he wound up just kind of choosing to be behind the scenes in the end. And probably why I'm here.
Conveniently enough, having a studio in the house sometimes is convenient when you need to make an album.
Exactly. Just a little convenient. Yeah. And he's amazing. We've worked together on all the records that I've been doing, and I love him. Yeah. He looks like Santa Claus too.
Well, that's, old hippies.
It helps.
I totally understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
But your exposure, I mean, not only the usual, she's exposed to rock and roll and standards, but you got exposed to Judy Garland really young. Like before you really even knew who she was, someone played you some Judy Garland when you were a kid, and you lost your mind.
I did. I absolutely lost it. And my parents, they were into the 60s music and the Supremes, Dylan, all of those usual incredible suspects. But I heard Judy when I must have been just around 5, and we were, running around in witch hats and playing make believe, and she just put it on, and I just stopped. And I wasn't analyzing it at that time as to why, but there was something about her. Just you felt like she was there with you, like she was so transparent and both vulnerable and incredibly passionate at the same time. I lost it. And from that moment on, I just dove in to all things like 1940s, from I Love Lucy to the musicals to Hitchcock, like the whole thing.
Once you start going back, and you start doing like, oh, the 50s, and you go, oh, the 40s. Oh, wait, let me just keep going. And you go down the rabbit hole.
Going. And there's so much incredible art on all mediums. And I pretty much grew up in the 40s, even though I was very much not in the 40s, as you mentioned earlier. But I didn't know the Simpsons existed. I just had my head in a very, very ancient hole. And didn't realize, that anything modern was relevant until Titanic came out. And I realized how relevant Leonardo DiCaprio was. And
once you like the Titanic, because it takes place where you're like, oh, yes, I'm back.
Yeah,
you're like time traveler at this point.
Yeah, I just went back further. Yeah, so there's something so romantic about that.
As a pop rock singer too, you weren't really exposed to necessarily the music of your time, of your youth. You were being exposed to all this classic music, from classic rock of the 60s and 70s to all the way back to Judy Garland. So you were living this whole other musical life.
Yeah, in some ways I'm really grateful for whatever made that happen, because when I draw from the well, shall we say, the muse, it's like, it's old. It's like Gershwin or Cole Porter or all these incredible composers from that time. And I hope to open the door for other people as well, other artists or just audience members, because it is a rich, textured, beautiful horizon of all things art.
Well, and watching your videos, it's like you can tell that you're absolutely, that you are you're visually, you definitely have tapped into that emotion when you watch it. You can see that's obvious.
Thank you. Yay, that's awesome.
So here you are in Fabulous Musicland, and then for bizarre reasons, you moved to a blueberry farm. What? In Canada? Yeah. You went to Canada to a Canadian blueberry farm.
Yeah, my dad was looking on the internet one day, and my parents had always had a dream they were going to own a berry farm. Like, really? Back in DC, the heart of DC, where, choreographing dances and all, like just being so saturated with the city and that life. And he saw this blueberry farm pop up on Vancouver Island, and they were at a stage where it kind of made sense. They could up and go, and he could take the studio with him. Meanwhile, I was just losing it because I'm 15 and they're and they're like, we're going to an island, to a farm.
Nowhere.
The whole time we were driving up the road on the island, I was just bawling my eyes out. My dad's like, you're going to like it. And if you don't, we won't move. But I got there and it was so beautiful. I mean, I went back to the depressed teenage state after we moved, but at least for a few minutes, I realized how gorgeous it was. And it turned out to be a blessing, because I was so removed. I'd finished high school that I basically went in the recording studio and I learned how to do all the things I probably wouldn't have had time to do otherwise.
Well, and we Canadians, we are known for really good blueberries. Vancouver blueberries.
This is true. They are the best. They're like that big. They're incredible.
As for the Canadian Blueberry Bureau, if there is one, blueberries are awesome in Canada. But okay, because if you're in the middle of the city in DC as a teenager, that's a completely different cultural experience. Yeah. And so to suddenly go, now we're going to go to the middle of nowhere in Canada, blueberry farm. But again, you're like pulled out of the regular culture of your time to go off into music land in the studio.
It's a really cool way to look at it, actually. Yeah, it is. Every time I've been just about to re-enter, normal society, something has been like, oh, here we go. Let's go to a blueberry farm. Yeah.
So you get wound up recording. Now, when did you first record an album? How old were you when you first recorded your first album?
Well, my dad actually found just hours of me singing old 40s songs, but that was a little different. That was me when I was like 6, and it's just me a cappella. It's hilarious. Someday I'm going to put that out because it's so funny. But as far as actually recording my own music, I did that when I was 16, and I had actually moved to LA. Because I couldn't stand the blueberry farm.
You can only get so much of the Blueberry Farm when you're 15 years old. Yes,
right?
sorry.
You're like, I
Sorry,
have
people.
no friends. So
The
I moved
little
to
girl.
LA to pursue music and acting because I'd already, I knew that was what I wanted to do. And unfortunately, I was insecure enough that I was told to lose weight, and I developed a very bad eating disorder. And it made me
that, and that is the worst. That's the worst age for it. That's the age.
Yeah, you're so
you're
impressionable.
Vulnerable to believe something like that.
And it just took away. It was like the sea witch. It took away my voice. The acid reflux. So I actually had to put everything on hold there, and I went back to the farm. And you may have read that I couldn't sing or really talk for almost a year. And during that time, I started writing all my songs, like in my head and like with the piano and guitar. And I learned how to produce them. And then suddenly my voice came back and I tracked it. And it was, again, it seemed like it was a bad thing to have my voice taken away. But in the end, I created my first record. So blessing in disguise.
Speaking, and from my age and having grown up in Hollywood, when I think of like a 15-year-old in downtown DC, a 16-year-old by themselves in Hollywood, the amount of trouble a human being can get into, and the amount of dangerous, really seriously dangerous situations that just exist in Los Angeles, California for a 16-year-old girl. It's like, and so, you may have gotten off lucky that the worst thing that happened to you was some freak fed you a bunch of crap and gave you
I've thought about that. I've thought about that. And I wasn't ready. So I took a step back, and actually going in through the music door wound up being a beautiful way for my career to really start, and getting to, have your own songs be what you're touring. And so it wound up working out. And you can get yourself into trouble in LA as a teenager. So there you go.
So and again, another one of these weird, like, blessing in disguise things. It's what's the first album called that you did?
So that was called First Flight. It's just a demo. It's not, you can't really get it. I printed all of it in, like the old CD printers on the farm. And so that was the first one. And it led to my second one that was another called Drifter, which I don't think you can find that either. But Drifter was the one that Universal Music heard and they signed me, and we re-recorded it for the album Sunseed. So they all kind of built towards that first record.
So you had a deal, really? Or how old were you? You got a record deal?
I was 17 and a half.
Yikes.
Yeah. I had a lot that was really incredible happen really young, and I didn't know how lucky I was. I found that out later when it all came crashing. But that happens, right? We have to have that happen.
Well, because that's what I was also reading about that, okay, so you got into this whole thing where you had Universal and you're putting out albums and you have a recording contract. And then, as things are wont to do, they have some executive purge. I mean, I think every actor in LA has a story about, I had a deal in development and then everyone got fired. True. And then everyone got fired. It's like, the people you had the deal with, they're not here.
They're gone.
They're gone.
You have no one.
You have no deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the most tragic. I mean, for me, because music is everything to me. It was the most tragic thing that had ever happened. I had just finished my third record, and it was going to come out through Verve. It was a dream come true. And we just turned in the master. I had the photo shoot lined up, everything. And then a week before the photo shoot, the team left the company. And it just so happened that Universal had put into place a new ruling where they wouldn't even sell back your masters. So I basically lost 5 years of work that I'd put into that. Again, wound up being a blessing in disguise, because I feel like I might have still been trying to do what I thought would do well with that album. Or, you know what I mean? Like, I was still maybe not being as transparent and honest about, like, my love of the 40s and whatnot as I could have been. So
did
that's
you go
the
back
album
to the
I just
Blueberry
finished.
Farm again? Did you go back?
I did.
I went back.
I went back to the Blueberry Farm and, like, Dad, I know, you just did this whole record with me, but I'm going to need you to do another one. And so I wallowed in my absolute depression and jadedness for quite some time. But then I picked myself up, and we spent 4 years and just finished the album I can release. And I'm so, like, this is the album I should have made many, many years ago, but the timing is now. And so I'm very excited.
And that is, it's just, that is in show business how things work. We go,
Oh yeah.
well, everybody wanted me to do this, then it didn't happen. And then when it does, you're like, oh, that's why we're doing this now.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so true. I was actually talking to the lovely man who signed me when I was a teen, and I'd shared one of the new songs. He's like, this is what I said to do back then. I'm like, I know. I got there. I just took the long route. It's all good.
I think you do need to write an album called The Blueberry Farm, but
that's true. Maybe maybe I need a side project.
I love this going back to, and it's a kind of having to remove yourself from the whole insanity of the business and go away to actually create the thing that works.
Yeah, well, I find it really, at least for me, you when you detach yourself from everything, the bustle and society, you really start to focus on the art a little more, and you're not surrounded by you really dig into yourself, and I really went deep on this record. I really dug into all the stuff I've been going through. Yeah.
Now I sent stuff on ahead to our producer. Do we have the ability to play anything? Do we have any video or track there we link to and play anything for a second?
Let me see if I can find something.
See if we can do that.
Oh.
It's always awesome when we can do that. And we can play a little bit.
That's awesome.
But it's these classic showbiz stories where you start to do it, and then it's just like the business tries to stop you and you don't.
Yeah.
And
and you don't.
And then you don't.
So true. And you're like, man, I keep going.
And then you keep and then it winds up being a better project. But like the eating disorder thing is huge. I mean, so many young girls are going through that now. I think it's worse than ever. I think, and I don't know if that's just everything is bigger and badder and more nowadays, or it's the access to all the pictures in the media.
Social media is very, very hard. I mean, I can only imagine how much worse it would have been for me if I had been seeing these doctored up photos of how perfect people look on Instagram, or even TikTok. You can do the videos now. It's something I really want to make. I want to do my part to hopefully steer women away from that in that impressionable age. And
it was even a thing when I was a girl, but it's always been there, and it's crazy because when I see so many of the actresses and stuff we were told, and then you look at the pictures and go, wait, you weighed like 110.
They're so small. Yeah. You're like, your waist is the size of my arm. Like,
it's so too big. And I don't know, hollows in the cheekbones. I'm not sure what look they're going for exactly.
I don't know. Maybe it's just, I have no idea. Everyone always wants to play a part in it, and then sometimes that means telling you about your body, and it is what it is. But I definitely learned the hard way.
I think we have a song. I think we're going to play a bit of a track.
Oh, okay.
We can actually hear her. We have to actually hear some music. It's gonna play. I'm excited.
Okay.
Your face wakes me up in the night. It ain't right, no, it ain't right. I toss and turn, tussle and sweat since we met, oh, since we met. Tell me, what have you done to me, baby? What have you done to me? Some kind of new love that I can see, something naughty to me, and I like it like never before. Oh, I want more, just a little more, 'cause I like it, oh, I like it like never before. When they flip everything gets perfectly right. And when you lean in to whisper goodnight, I know it's gonna be so right. And I like it like never before. Oh, I want more, just a little more, 'cause I like it. Oh, I like it like never before. Oh, the climate changes me.
Wow. Wait, is that the one? Is that it was Sharon Stone?
That is, yeah, never before.
Song with Sharon Stone? Wait, now I'm like another left field thing. How did that happen?
That was incredible. So around the time I lost my album, a friend of mine in the industry in LA was like, I have a friend, Sharon Stone, who has written some songs before and is really interested in writing with a woman, and she really liked your music. I'm like, okay. Yes, of course. And forgot about it. It's like, well, we'll see if it happens. And then cut 2 weeks later, I pick up my phone. It's a blocked number, and walking down the street in LA and eating a sandwich, legit, like mouthful of sandwich. And I hear, "Hi, Haley, it's Sharon Stone." And I almost caused an accident. I just wandered into the street. And she invited me over to her house, and we, in one afternoon, sat down and wrote Never Before, which was actually my first ever co-write. I'd only ever written in the wee small hours of the morning and had no idea if I could do it on the spot. But she is so gracious, and she really took the time to get me. And even pull me out of me a little bit. I was in a shell at that point, and she really was like, well, let's do it. Let's, all the stuff that you love so much. And it's, you're such a romantic. Let's write a song about that moment of romance. That's just that, like, it has no words. And so, we wrote the song, and she's been a sweetie ever since, helping me.
That's amazing. I love just walking down the street eating a sandwich. And
it's serious. I'm like, oh gosh, how do I get this out of Yeah.
And then you have been you've been in multiple films and TV shows. You were in Deadpool 2. You were in a bunch of stuff. So now how does that work? Because half the time you're on a blueberry farm locked in a studio, apparently. And somehow you're in LA making like TV and what how does this all work? I didn't see a difference between music and acting when I was younger. It was, I loved musical theater. To me, they were all performing, just different ways to tell stories. But then, I signed with a label, and it was like, you're doing music. So, I went into that world. And then when everything kind of was collapsing on that front, shall we say, I realized how much I missed the other half, the half of getting to tell other people's stories. And, called back up my manager from when I was a teenager in Canada, and she's like, yeah, let's do it. And it just started, the right things started to come, and it's actually, it helped support me during the time that music was pretty much at a standstill. But it was definitely record, fly, back to the farm, record, fly. So that's why the album took a minute, because it was a lot of back and forth. But yeah, I love, it's so much fun to act. It's like when you really get to do it with incredible other actors too, it's just a dream. Yeah. And I was going to say, and I'm amazed. For someone who has been attempted to be thwarted several times, you've done a lot. You've accomplished an awful lot. I look at your resume and everything. And as you said, they completely took it. It's like, no, we're not doing that. Oh, you recorded the album and you can't have it. And no one can have it. So no one can listen to it. So it's an entire album in outer space. In limbo.
Who knows? It's floating around. Someday I'm sure it'll surface, right?
Is it one of those things like if you break like really huge, Universal turn around and go, oh,
I'm sure they will. Yeah. Which, you know what? That's awesome. You go for it. Like, that'd be great.
Never before heard album of. So exactly. So you have all these things. And so you're talking about that, like, how do you get through those periods? Because as you said, you did wallow in misery and bitterness for a brief period of time there,
Oh, a long
and
period
you
of time, yes.
retreat to the farm. But this is a thing that happens to actors, to singers. These sometimes soul crushing moments where, hi, we're stealing your album. Hi, you no longer have a development deal. Hi, we're not doing this. And you seem relatively happy and good natured after all of that, and managed to get what you want, managed to do the thing you wanted to do. How would you tell a young performer to what to do when these seemingly insurmountable things happen?
Yeah, you have to go through it. I definitely had to go through it. I would be lying to say that I was able to just pick myself up and be like, I'm back. So I went to some pretty dark places, and gratitude was the only thing that pulled me out. I started, like, I remember one day I just could not pick my head up off the kitchen table. I was so bitter and just so, like, it felt hopeless. Like, and I've been a pretty driven, hopeful person my whole life, and to have that taken away was very disorienting. And I realized, well, Hayley, you have two choices. You can give up, or you can pick yourself back up and show them all that wasn't the right decision, and you have a lot left to say. And it's true. I think there's a chance I may have even not been able to pull myself back together if I hadn't felt like I had so much left that I hadn't been able to say and to do. And art was just, I can't imagine a life without it. And so meditating, back to where I was like 2 seconds ago, I can't meditate. I'm just terrible. But I like, my mom's always been like, you should meditate. I'm like, I can't stop thinking for 1 second. And then I just started listening to like kind of guided meditations for gratitude. And I started to be grateful my heart was beating. And I had to start simple. I really did.
Yep.
But even for 10 minutes a day, I started to see myself turn around, and thus my life turn around. And that excited me. And so it would, I kept getting remotivated by this sense of gratitude for the little things and all the things I had so easy when I was younger and taken for granted, and also taking responsibility for it and being like, maybe I needed this to happen so that I could do this and create something even better. And it's not easy though, I'm sure you know.
Millions too. I mean, millions of people who start in show business. One person tells them, you need to lose 10 pounds, and they get each, and that's it. They go home.
Don't give up. Whoever's watching this, don't do it.
And their album goes, they go, well, I was going to have a career in music, but then this thing happened. These people screwed me over. And then they're like, done. They're like, done. People stop. People do give up.
I know. It's so easy to give up too. Like it's still hard. Like, I still feel like I'm pounding down doors. I'm like, please. But it's, I started to view it as more of a game, and like, failure is not an option. Or that if you build it, they will come. Like, these are little mantras that I tell myself when I get in a bad headspace, and pick myself up and keep going.
Gratitude thing. I mean, I know I sometimes with like a gratitude list. I mean, it can start with, I am grateful I am not on fire right now. It's
literally, I am grateful I am sitting down and not standing. Like,
I'm breathing. Sometimes it's that bad.
Yeah. But I'm kind of grateful that I went through that, because now I can tell people about it. And maybe, it was little people, or not little people, but little voices in my life of people who had gone through it and had not given up, and to see them and want and realize it's possible was so important to me during that hard time. So
it's so important. And I've interviewed a lot of people like that, a couple of filmmakers and stuff, where they were just like, the whole thing was gone. It was dead. It was finished. They were
just instant.
Guess I'm starting over again. And then
I guess I'm back at the beginning. But then, you know what? It tends to be even better. It's you don't think it will be, and you beat yourself up over it, but then you're like, oh, it took me a few years to feel this way, but I'm so glad now that all that happened so that I could really do this record. And
so this album is Ricochet is the new one.
Yeah, we changed the title. Yes, it was called Good Research. It was called Ricochet, and I just a few weeks ago changed it to Till the End.
Oh, even better.
Yeah,
After everything we just talked about, is that you're right.
Yeah,
That's
and it's partly my own. I will do this till the end. Like this is my like I will perform for you till the end. It is. I could go on singing forever. Like that is my true love. And so it was that, and it's also a song title. And something about it just it can't. I liked Ricochet, and then I was talking to my manager. I'm like, I think I've chosen a different title. Aha!
And until the end, you're right. And it's just like in keeping with everything we just talked about. That is perfect. So, what can you describe? What would you say this album is about? I mean, obviously, capture everything you've been through. So some of that.
Yeah, it's about romance. I mean, in all shapes and sizes, it's about romance and the first loves, down to the I'm dedicated to making this work, even though it isn't, to losing love, to having a commitment to sticking it out even when things get hard. And then it's so funny because actually some of the love songs I realized were songs to myself or to my career, it's like the I won't give up on this love. And I didn't even realize that until we were doing a music video for one of the songs in Paris. And the music video director had come up with this whole concept for the song Never Let You Go based on everything that had happened to me in the last 6 years. And wow. I suddenly realized, the whole premise is me looking at the stage and trying to get to the stage and I can't. And realizing, wow, the song actually works. I mean, love's love. It doesn't matter if it's towards your career, or if it's towards a person, or just towards a love of story. And so, yeah, it's very cinematic and romantic. Yeah, I can't wait for it to come out.
So in watching like your YouTube stuff, your social media, do you find, I mean, for all the terrible things about social media, do you find that though it can be really valuable in this sense, especially when you're presenting this kind of art and you're doing music videos and you're doing music, do you find that YouTube and all these channels work and are useful for this?
I find it, I have a love-hate relationship with all social media. I really do. I think it is an incredible tool for art to be discovered. And it is true. Like the fact you can just post something and get new followers. It's incredible. And it's a way to really connect with people. On the other side, I seem to feel as though the industry is now assuming that if you're a musician, you're also a social media manager. And that is hard, especially if I'm a little shy. It's definitely like, I don't parade my whole life necessarily on Instagram. And so I think I love social media, but I also hope the industry realizes there's a whole form of artist that doesn't fit in the 20 seconds on TikTok or in the 60 seconds on Instagram. So I think I keep going back to that. I love it. I'm always on Instagram. I do understand the beauty of it, but there's something about being in an audience and seeing a performer, and those are the performers I really hope get brought up into the spotlight in the next few years.
As an actress, same thing. We all have to do it. Yeah. I mean, if you've got my show, it's like, oh, here's where I'm going to be, and it's incredible to be able to, with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, instantaneously tell thousands of my fans, oh, hey, here's where I'm going to be. Here's where to go get tickets. Like no mailers, no stamps. Yay!
I know, it's amazing.
It is great, but then it also becomes its own like other job. And yes, expected to somehow know how to do that and be good at it. And many of my friends are like, what? I can't.
I love the thing I love about it is the direct connection to fans, friends, audience members. What I don't love about it is when, a label's like, well, you only have 11,000 followers. And you're like, well, I haven't released music in 10 years. So it's this, I look forward to it being a tool and not the way you're judged. And also it's social media. Like there's filters all over that thing. It's not as real as going into an audience.
It's not
getting to,
That brings up a good point. So during the worst of the pandemic, when we couldn't even go out, it wasn't even safe to go to the hospital. What the heck did you do? I know I did stand-up shows in the living room. That's why I have all these backdrops.
That's awesome.
I have a collection of these goofy backdrops in this rack because first one was a brick wall. We set up there's a thing called Stage It. People have done Stage It. StageIt.com.
I have heard of that, actually.
A lot of musicians use it. And when it hit, I got a call like, do you want to do stage it? All the stand-ups, the drag queens, the cabaret performers were doing stuff out of their living room. And I started doing half-hour stand-up show. And I found you could find a backdrop with anything. So I can have themes.
That's amazing.
Set up the thing and perform. But it was just me and my husband and the cat. So like,
it's so different.
Where are the laughs? How do I know they're laughing? Okay. Luckily, my husband laughs in the right places. But then he would look, he could see the comments and he'd go, they like that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, good. But it was insane. It was not like when I finally, after like 2 years, like got in front of an actual audience, it was like, it was a world. I was like,
it was breathtaking. Yeah. Literally, I was like, I can breathe again. So,
what did you do during the pandemic? Since, as you said, yes, social media, but it's not like being with people. What the?
Yeah, it was, you know what? I was lucky in that I was, guess what, on the blueberry farm. We were working, we were working on the record. So I was lucky to have that to kind of keep me going, because I don't know what I would have done. I started doing live shows online, and I found I was so self-conscious.
So weird. I did them. People loved them, but they were weird.
I know. I mean, maybe there's a way you can do it, and I just wasn't. I was doing it all by myself. And so I'd like set up all the cameras, and you do this show, and by the end I was getting more comfortable with it. But it definitely was, when I got to go back on stage, that was just like, I just started crying. I honestly, like, I was so happy that I just started crying. But yeah, I'm grateful that I had the record to work on, because it was a hard time. That was not an easy couple of years. They didn't count, right?
Oh, it's back. Look, there. That was weird. For a couple of seconds, I was like, where'd she go? Hey, there.
Oh no! I mean,
you have to finally do the stuff out of your living, do the online ones, and they're never the same.
Well, because I mean, I find I'm so self-conscious, because there's no one to pull you out of it. Normally, there's
no one really there. Like,
normally, if I'm singing a song, I am so swept away by the song and by the people that I don't even know what I'm doing.
The relationship with the audience, it's a stand-up, but you're feeding off what they give you, and you go, and then there's quietly in a room. It
was different. Some people thrived. I definitely was not on the thrive bus, but I can appreciate it.
Now you're very a charitable person. I see that you've done a lot of benefits and a lot of stuff, and it seems to be a lot of the oceans, turtles, fish, critters.
Yeah. You know, I'm also a surfer. I love the ocean. I find being a very A-type anxious personality, it just takes it all away. It's like the one form of calming meditation I can do is being in the ocean. And so, in general, I've gravitated towards really, really wanting to protect our beautiful earth. I mean, we're so lucky. And the oceans especially, there's this beautiful body of water that's a whole world that we don't really see on a day-to-day basis. And I try and do what I can to spread the word, and also just hopefully live by example a little bit.
That's what I've always said, if you have any kind of fame, any kind of following, to be able to use it for a good cause and say, hey, we're saving turtles here.
Yeah. This is something you may not know about. That is something you can be involved in. Yeah, it's that, and arts have been the two main things for me. Like really, really, like having arts in my school as a kid. I got to go through an arts middle school, public arts middle school, which was incredible. I just, you don't have to wind up even being in the arts, but it's so pivotal to have exposure to the arts at a young age, and they keep getting cut. And so I care passionately about that, and I try and do what I can for that as well.
And that's something that's been documented, because my old friend Carol Channing had a big project on that, because they actually did the studies that your math scores go up, the reading scores go up.
Yeah, I could see that.
Exposed to the arts, all the other scores go up, because if you're studying music or any of these, look, you have to learn math, and if you're studying drama, you learn reading, and so all of the other subjects are improved by exposure to the arts.
Well, it's this form of self-expression that even if it's just that you learn how to do that through those mediums, you take into your life with you. And it's so sad to see people think, oh, that's not important. Let's just put them in more computer classes, which are also important also, but you can't bypass the importance of art. We've had this for centuries as
Yeah. It's no, and yeah, the idea we just put that aside. It's like, no, there's a reason it's there. It's not actually just like, it's not an extra recess.
Yeah. It's not just because painting's like whatever. It's so critical for, for us humans, I think. It's critical for me.
It's an actual class. And you went to like the Northwestern or the Northwestern Academy?
Yeah, I went to Da Vinci Arts Middle School, and then I got to go to Northwest Academy in Portland, Oregon, it was so incredible. It was this 90 kid school.
90?
And
that's a class.
Tiny.
That's a class
it was
in
tiny.
LA. That's not a school.
Oh,
that's one room.
It was tiny. And you went, you did all your normal curriculum, which they had professors doing. Like, it was just a dream school. And then after school, you went straight to all your arts classes. And I'd often be in arts class, like whether it was film studies or dance or anything you wanted. You'd go off campus and you'd go to all these different places in Portland and take classes till sometimes 10 p.m. And then you come home and do your homework and go back to school. But I loved it. It was incredible. And they also helped me because I was young for my grade and I wanted to graduate. And they helped me do 2 years at once. I didn't have a life. I was like, I didn't see the sun for 2 years there.
But you said you are grateful because, oh my God, what a huge advantage. What a huge advantage.
I know. It was, I felt so
that
lucky.
kind of training. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's still going. And I love that school. I do everything I can to help them out. It's just, whether you're going in for graphic design or wanting to be a Broadway star, like they support all of that and kind of help you create your own curriculum around it.
So now your current album, would you say it's more of the 1940s, your throwback, or is it more now? What time zone is that album in now?
What time zone? Oh, I went back to my roots for this one. Mainly because it's just the way I love to sing. And so they're all new. They're all my songs. They're all new songs. And I would say the way they're produced feels like it could be modern, but it also feels like you could be in the 40s. I wanted to keep it, I am not in the 1940s, so I wanted to have it be. I wanted to breathe new life into it. But yeah, it's a lot like the song "Never Before." I'm obsessed with strings, so my dear friend in Seattle, he laid down all of them himself. He tracked each string himself because we were on such a tight budget, and it sounds so lush. It was a dream.
And did your father work on this one too?
He did. Oh yeah,
yes,
he did all the guitars, and his job was to get me out of my own way most of the time. Like he'd literally just kind of fall asleep on the back couch, and then he'd wake up, be like, throw a pencil. He's like, "What are you taking out? Don't throw that away." Because I would try and perfect it.
Yeah, you did one where you said, "I done all the editing. It's perfect, and now I hate it."
Yeah.
What is that thing that, like, a performer, we will come off stage. I said an actor, my husband said a musician. Yeah. That was the worst. That was the worst ever. And then that's the one the audience is like, that was great. What are we doing?
I know. Why are we wasting our time? But it's actually one of the reasons the album took a while is I did a whole record and then edited all the drums and lined it up perfectly and took out the breaths and did everything you're supposed to do, right? For modern pop, whatever you want to call it, music. And I didn't like it. I was like, well, I've successfully drained all of me out of this. So let's go back
out of it completely.
And do it again. And I only let myself do 2 takes of each vocal. And then I wouldn't let myself edit them. I realized I'm a terrible person in the studio if I'm not recording live. So we figured out a way to track the piano and the voice at the same time. And not to click track, we had to go back and create tempo maps. My drummer's like, "What are you doing to me?" But it was all worth it in the end. It's very live.
There to throw a pencil. No, don't delete. Don't delete.
Seriously,
no,
all the time. You have no idea that. And he'd write like little Post-it notes and put them on the screens over where Pro Tools would have the delete button. He's like, "Do not delete."
Because you can't judge it. You can't judge it. You're the worst critic.
No.
Right?
I'm always like, "Oh, well, my voice cracked at the end of that." He's like, "That's why it's cool. Don't delete that." So it was a fun learning experience. This was the first record I successfully got out of my own way.
But I love it. It's like, no, that's why it's called. No, that's, I mean, come on, he produced the Ramones. It's okay. Listen, do what he says.
Like, just listen to me. Yeah.
But that's it. You have to have this other person who can hear it and say,
so true.
You're not hearing what we're all hearing. You're not hearing what we're hearing. This is what you, That's what you like in writing, having an editor. It's the editor to cut things. The editors go, important. Do you know what that sounds like when you wrote that? It sounds like this, and we should do more of this or less.
Yeah, we like this. Yeah.
Part here. Really? That part? That's the part you like? Yes, that's.
Yeah. And it's so funny because, you listen to pretty much any singer, band, whatever before digital, we had access to digital music and whatnot. That's all live. I mean, and that's why we love it, is the tempo fluctuates and you feel like the person is real. It's not a computer music.
Everything is completely processed
and
canned, which.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of cool that person didn't hit the note perfectly. Like, that's why you start to like it. But of course, I still hear it and like, oh gosh, but I didn't edit it. I didn't.
But you didn't. You were stopped, thank God. So yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to the mixer before I could do that. Yeah.
No, it's amazing, and it's just your honesty about what is to being an artist and the things that get in your way, getting in your own way, and having to get out of it. That's really good stuff. Are you thinking of writing a book as well as all this?
Maybe
like you have spare time.
Someday. That'd be fun, actually. What's funny is I actually did during COVID I love writing. I did start writing a semi-autobiographical fiction book. So who knows? I think it's terrible, but again, I'm not letting myself delete it, and I'm just going to save it for a rainy day, and you never know.
Go to the farm, have your father read it or something. I don't know what.
I'll go back to the farm. There you go. When I'm like in 10 years, I'll go back. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of what we're talking about is very important for young artists, because they think that either everything's going to go perfectly, or if things go bad, it's all over. Or like I said, everything's the worst critic, and they go, I can't do it. It's like, no, you let somebody else go. Yes.
Yeah. Do not try to. If you feel it, it's there. Just you got to find. You got to get out of your own way. But also, I think the biggest thing for me to learn was the whole idea of a timeline, that you're supposed to be here by 20, and by 25 you're supposed to be here, and if you're not, give up. I even got told, well, if you're a woman over 25, no one will ever sign you because you're just gonna have babies. And I remember being like, oh, that's not right, you can't say that.
I sometimes wonder if some of even like the eating disorder, if some of the telling the young girls that they're not thin enough isn't even because they don't think they're thin enough, it's because they know it'll make them insecure and easier to control.
I think that's true. I think there's a wanting to say I created you that happens.
Right. Because some of these girls are like really thin.
I know. I mean, I was told to lie about my age at 21.
Lie about
that I was over the
21.
hill. That I was too old. And I successfully convinced myself I was too old by like age 25, and that I should hang my hat up. And then realized, well, that's stupid. I don't want to do that. This is someone's concept about where I'm supposed to be in my life. I might be 50 when it finally works out for me. And then I can inspire everybody else to not give up before 50. It took me a minute to get over that one. But yeah, I think it's a control thing.
I think it's a control. I think a lot of the weird, bizarro criticisms and things we lynch are just not even that thing. It's like, if I say something really negative, this will make her feel bad, and she'll do everything I tell her.
Yeah, I could see that. So
I'm just saying.
Don't listen, just absorb it and try and see if it actually resonates, and probably it won't. And then let it go. Get an opinion. Definitely.
All right, where do we get the album? Where do we go to your website and all your social media, as troublesome as it may be? You're fabulous with social media. Where do we go see everything?
It's all HAYLEY Sales, HAYLEYSALES, and all these usual suspects. And keep an eye out for the singles that hopefully will begin to drop in late summer, early fall, and then we'll see how it blooms from there. And
it's till the end of time?
Till the end.
Just the end. Till the end.
I mean, it is till the end of time, too, but it is just...
till the end. So, all
Yes.
right, upcoming album is Till the End, and Hayley Sales, you have your own website. I've been to that. It's lovely. And also
Oh,
there
thank
is a
you.
whole YouTube channel where you can see her perform live. You opened for Rufus Wainwright, and just,
Oh.
I mean, it's like,
He's a genius. That was so fun.
yeah, there's all sorts of fabulous videos on there of her doing the totally black and white 1940s stuff, everything. And then, yes, she has Instagram and all of that stuff as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Are you going to be touring any live concerts in this story?
I sure hope so. I think that, again, that'll start in late summer as well. Once I wrap this film and my team gets all the music release dates lined up. Yeah, I can't wait to get back.
Oh, what's the film? What's the film?
It is called Something New. I get to play the villain. Oh, it's so
you
fun.
Got something new till the end. It's again. Wait, are you the villain? Are you villain?
Maybe
Maybe
a little bit.
We like that. As you know, that's sort of my
yeah, there you go.
If you need villain pointers, call anytime.
Oh, I will be ringing you up later.
Excellent. I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been delightful.
You.
And thank everybody for watching. This is Hayley Sales, and this is the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim.
I found my way home.